This is another edition of that Less Kevin, More Tech from UTEC IT. No, I always laugh because the folks here in the office, Les, they always say it should be less Kevin.
Yeah.
And more tech. But today we got a guest. And it was a little bit of a chance encounter. We've been remiss by not having her out here before this, but we really got connected by our great friend, Sean Duvall.
The mayor.
Limo. Yeah, he'll get you anywhere you need to go, right? And he said, you have to have this person on. Yeah. You have to have her. And I said, well, I don't know her that well, Sean. And so, Sean being the connector he is, right there together. And before I know it, I met this impressive lady.
Very impressive.
And we said, we're having a March Madness party. Why don't you come to the party? And she says, I love basketball. We're in the Ann Arbor. And within 30 seconds, she was trash talking all the other people at the Economic Club lunch. And I said, I got to have that lady on now. We loved it, because she was Sparty this. And so, by luck, we get the former homecoming queen from Michigan State, Shannon Polk.
Thank you.
And Shannon's our executive director of Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation, right? Did I say that right?
Almost. President and CEO.
President and CEO.
Yep.
Okay.
But you got the foundation right. That's good because people leave out the area all the time.
And the area is important.
It is because we represent all of Washtenaw County. Yeah.
Yeah, even though it has Ann Arbor in the name, it is.
Yes.
Well, Shannon, if I get by with only doing one thing wrong today, it's a major win for me. So I apologize about butchering that opening. But maybe you'll forgive me by the end of the day.
It's all right. It'll be good. It'll be good. You'll take me out. We'll golf, and that all will be forgiven.
Good. Hey, Shannon, can you just start and tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization and?
Sure.
Let's start with the self because the self is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
we'll get to the organization. They do great things. We got to highlight that. But just talking to her, this is an amazing background.
Yeah, she's very passionate, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Flint, born and raised. And moved here with my husband and my 10-year-old daughter to accept the position as CEO at the Community Foundation last year in January. Having worked in Flint my entire life, of course, graduated from Michigan State University.
Not U of M Flint.
Oh, although I have plenty of family that did.
Okay.
But yeah. My father-in-law would be remiss if I didn't say that there are people in my family that love University of Michigan.
Got it.
But yeah, so worked in politics, lawyer by education, worked in the faith community, led nonprofits, and having worked in philanthropy before coming here. Yeah.
Well, you just seem too good to be a lawyer.
I married one of those people too. Makes for interesting conversations around the dinner table.
Yeah, what kind of jokes you guys tell?
Oh, it's not the jokes we tell; it's the jokes our daughter tells about us.
Oh, I got it. Sounds like 10 going on 30.
Oh, strong negotiator. Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah. So this is fun being here. Being new to the community, getting to learn about it, learn what makes this community so amazing, why people love to be here, why they love to work here. So it's been great getting to know Washtenaw County.
That's great.
I've walked in your shoes. I feel your pain, right? Because it's always tough to say we love Ann Arbor so much, isn't it?
Right? Like when you've been reared with that East Lansing love, it's hard to say, but Ann Arbor's kind of cool.
Well, he's a little bit worse off. He's
further south.
He's further south.
Yeah.
Where we're talking.
There's that common enemy,
right.
The thing we got going on here. But no, it is a fascinating area, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you get people from all over the world. I mean, that's the beauty of being in a college town. So many interesting, really intelligent people with great ideas. You get a lot of young people that have that startup energy. They're like, okay, what's new? What can we do? And to have that kind of creativity around you all the time, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's really, and it's a tourist destination on top of it. It's an there's a lot going on, and you are very integral to the community.
Well, we certainly hope that we are. The foundation, we have approximately $200 million in assets, and we give away about just over $9 million a year to various charities across the county. So it's really exciting to kind of be part of that backbone of philanthropic giving in the community.
Do you have anything for podcaster lessons?
You know what?
You could
Let me
give,
look at the fine print on that. I don't know about that one.
I was fascinated to hear the longevity of your organization. Can
Yeah.
you just speak to that?
Sure. We've been around. This year will be our 60th year. So starting in July, we'll be kicking off with some celebration activities that will take us all the way into 2024, because it was July of 1963 when the foundation was started. It's incredible, all the different things that have happened. I mean, and the foundation has been led by so many amazing people, from George Christ to Terry Foster, Cheryl Elliott, Neil Hajra, and then I have the wonderful privilege of being able to carry on their legacy.
Yeah, and the other thing that I thought was interesting is all the different organizations that, have their roots, right? Their original DNA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, when you come into our office, you see a list of all the different people that have created funds, but we also have a list of all the organizations that we have given out grants to that have endowments with us. I mean, it's everything from food gatherers, which we have been giving grants to food gatherers since, for the past 30 years.
Wow.
We've had a relationship with them. I don't know if you can identify a nonprofit that hasn't in some way been connected to us, either directly through grant funding. Maybe that organization has an endowment with us, so they're receiving that annual distribution every year. Or they're an organization that perhaps their leader or their participants went through a program that we funded.
Really?
Yeah.
So how important is that endowment?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So as someone who's led nonprofits, endowments are wonderful, right? As, to know that every year, without any additional fundraising, that you're going to get a check every year.
Yeah.
For the rest of the life of that organization. I mean, that's wonderful. And to be able to share that with your donors, say, hey, we're using that money for this, but can you come alongside us and support that? It's kind of like when your kid says, I've already worked hard to save some money, so can you come alongside me to help me buy that extra? You're like, well, sure. You've already shown that you're doing the work. So yeah, we want to come alongside you and help you. And the other thing is, we always see ourselves as the community savings account. We're going to be around forever. Our tagline is, for good, forever, for all. Right?
Love it.
And so
right.
to be that, and to know that when you give to us, your money's going to stay in this community, and it's going to work to help either with human services or supporting programming that's helping youth, arts and culture. We do a lot of work in support of aging, because we know the minute you're born, you're already part of that aging community, right? So how do we help support that? We're doing work around economic empowerment, which is so critical. I tell people, we live in a capitalist society. If you really want to help people, teach them how to make money. Teach them how to hold on to that money. And so we are a part of that as well. So looking for ways that we support the community, just always looking for how do we need to pivot. So I don't know about you guys, but COVID was a game changer, right?
Boy.
Right? Totally transforms the way you do business, the way you interact, the way that you're hiring, the way that you're working with employees. Same thing for nonprofits happened during COVID. They're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? So the Community Foundation gave out loans, grants. How do we help support and do that quick injection of capital? Banks can't do that. They're not designed to do that. That's what community foundations do.
And community, just to reiterate, because you mentioned the area, right? That's Washtenaw County.
All of Washtenaw County, that's Dexter, Chelsea, Milan, Superior Charter Township, Ypsilanti, the entirety, Whitmore Lake, and Ann Arbor. We give across the entire county. And we have people serving on our board and serving on committees from all across the county as well. So that's really important to us, that we are able to hear that voice and have that voice helping us as we're making decisions.
Wow.
And so, being a community foundation, anybody could come to you, whether it's a nonprofit in the community or whether just individual donors, right? And we could set up just about anything for our passion.
Yeah, you can set up a donor advised fund that you're going to then dictate how those dollars go to the community. You can set up a field of impact fund. You're like, Shannon, I really care about the environment. Do you have, and we use those funds that are designed for that, and we put those out into the community. You might say, you know what, I want to support kids that are going to school. And I would say, hey, you should come see our CSP program. We have a pool of funds that support students that are getting that 4-year degree, which that's one of my favorite programs. It's part of the reason why I accepted the job. They give out, not only do we give out scholarship money to those students who are either first generation, low income, or students of color, but then they also get access to success coaches to help you navigate, you know, because when you're on that Big Ten campus, it'd be helpful to have a couple guides through the way. But then the coolest part about that is the emergency aid program, where students, because, you know, if you're a student that's aged out of foster care, and we saw this during COVID, you know, who do you go to when you don't have a place to stay or you don't know where you're going to get food? Right. And so they were able to come and say, look, we need money for X, you know, I don't have transportation. Can you help me with that? I need boots. You know, the cost of books has increased, and even though I'm working another job, I need some extra. We help support that on top of the scholarship dollars because we don't want there to be any reason why a kid can't finish school.
You know, that's something I think gets overlooked. I'm on the WCC Foundation board, and again, we have an emergency fund set up because it is so important. You get these, you know, and usually they're young adults, right? And they're trying to work, they're trying to hold up a family and go to school. And if, you know, if their car breaks down, they don't have $800 to fix the car to get to school and get to their job. And it's important to have that safety net for other stuff.
Exactly, because we're talking about students who don't have that aunt, uncle, parent that they can lean on and say, hey, can you help me out? And can you give me a little something to tide me over? These are students that are doing it entirely on their own most of the time. Or if they do have family, their families aren't in a position to help them because they're that first person to go to college in their family. And so that's the kid who's most likely to be like, you know what? I guess this isn't for me. I got to go back. And we don't want there to be any obstacles to them getting that degree because we know that having that piece of paper changes their financial trajectory for life.
Without question. Without question.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that's a very impassioned story. Very passionate.
That's because, you know, I believe in philanthropy so much. I went into philanthropy because as a little kid, they used to have these things called newspapers. And so I guess I'm dating myself with that one. So I would read this article that was by this gentleman, and I'd read it, and he would be talking about, yes, someone would write in and say, hey, can I get, you know, X amount of money? My kid needs braces. Or, hey, you know, my husband's having surgery, and I'm going to have to take off work. Can you help? And he'd be giving out these checks. I was like, I don't know what this is, Mommy, but I want to do this when I grow up. I didn't know that was philanthropy, but I just thought, how great is it to be able to use capital to help people when they're in need?
Yeah, right. What is that? The hand up or instead of the handout, basically.
Exactly. You know, everybody's like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, if it's, you know, January in Michigan and you don't have boots, I mean, you know, somebody's got to be there to support that. And that's what we do. But not just the individuals, but the organizations. You have people that are part of this economy because they're the caseworker that's working with people. They're the artist that's teaching the class. And we support those organizations that put them to work.
So, personally, you started to go down a path with the story. How old were you when you kind of had that enlightenment?
Oh, I was probably about 7 or 8.
Really?
7 or 8, because, you know, you had like the advice columns and all the syndicated columns right next to the comic strip. So that it was good positioning, right? It was good. It was like a little bit of peanuts. Okay, now some social issue here, right? And so I just remember thinking, how amazing is that? Because growing up in Flint, you saw a variety of people with economic backgrounds. Some people that were extremely well off, living in mini mansions. You had people that were living in the projects. And so what would it be like to even the playing field? What would it look like to help?
So did you have a mentor or somebody along?
Well, you had a great family from listening to everything we've talked about.
Yeah, I mean, it was my dad saying, Shannon, what? We got to give to Old Newsboys. Well, I don't know anything about that charity. What you need to know is that's how we kept coats in the wintertime. Because my dad came from a family of 12 kids. So he's like, hey, you got to give back to them because they helped me. Not because they helped me personally, but generationally, you always remember where you came from. It was my mom where, you know, we went to church, and if someone passed away, she's like, we got to bake a cake. I'm like, why are we baking cakes? Because you got to give. You know, somebody passed away. They don't have time to think about that. We need to help. One time, my mom and I were driving down the street. She's like, stop the car. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, we got to get out. There were all of this furniture that was on the side of the road. I'm like, why are we getting out of the car? Someone's been evicted. And if we don't stop, people are going to come and take their stuff. We're going to stay here. You watch, make sure no one takes anything. I'm going to go knock on the doors. Maybe that person's at work. They don't know what's going on. We're going to help. I was like, Mommy, we don't even know these people. You don't have to know them. They're part of your community.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So when you're raised with that, then it's like, I remember finding out like, wait, I could do this and get paid for this? I was like, cool, I would have done this for free. This is awesome.
Do you worry that we're losing that connection, though, that we're so busy and we're so tied to phones and things that, are we going to lose that in the next generation or two? Or
You know, it's interesting. I read this really cool article in the LA Times some years ago, and they had a UN envoy who had come to LA to observe poverty. And what he talked about, and it was highlighted in the article, was he talked about the violent turning away, where people just don't want to see it. Even though they were walking past homeless camps, even though they were walking past people in the street begging, it was almost like, I don't want to see that. And if I've got ESPN on my phone, I don't have to, right? If I've got a kid that's got Disney Plus, they don't have to. They don't have to see it. They don't have to be exposed to it. And what does that do when we don't get a chance to actually see the value of another human being, right? To not see them as a whole person. I feel like, and I'm going to go here, I feel like that's what happens in our religion and our politics. We don't see people as whole people anymore. They're just issues. And we got to see them as people, right? You know, at my daughter's school, there's a child with some behavioral impairments, and I was talking with the teacher because I was concerned about somebody acting out. And I told the teacher, I said, but you know what I know? That's somebody's baby. There's some mom that cares about that kid. So how do we get the kid the right help and not traumatize the rest of the kids?
That is a challenge, by the way.
Right.
And it's a growing challenge.
Yeah.
all right, I think the community foundation's losing her. We're going to make her our next politician.
Yeah,
She can
right.
go in and fix this stuff and call balls and strikes, right, and not worry about what team's playing, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, because we got to care. The issue is, and people get so upset, but our community foundation is focused on systems change. It's not that one person has done a bad thing. It's that we have systems that are broken, and we need to fix those systems, not just to help one group, but to help the entire group. At my shop, we talk about targeted universalism, right? That means there are things we want every kid in Washtenaw County to have, every senior in Washtenaw County to have. And then we look and find out, why is this group not getting there? What supports do they need, and how do we help them get there? Because there's a certain quality of life you should just want across your entire community, regardless of zip code.
Rising tides float all ships.
Exactly.
Well, that's a lot. I mean, that to unpack, you know, just those past couple of minutes, there's a lot there.
Well, you know, I was talking with a friend of mine. She runs a community foundation in the Thumb. And she was talking about, like, people don't understand rural property. I was like, girl, my family's from Mississippi. They were living on a rural route. When I was little, if you wanted to call next door, you just add a number when you're visiting folks down south. So you need to call somebody. I said, you know, we've got people living in rural poverty in Washtenaw County.
Yes.
Whether they're in Manchester, they're in Whitmore Lake, they're in Chelsea. But then we have people living in urban poverty, in Ypsilanti, in Ann Arbor. And the issue is, it's the same thing. Lack of transportation, lack of access to health care, you know, issue when it comes to access to food. It's the same thing. The solutions are going to look a little bit different if you live in Manchester versus Ypsi, but it's the same problem.
Yeah, same problem. I'm taking all this in. There's a lot here. And what I see or what I hear is this underlying personal belief on your part.
Yeah.
And that's the driving force.
Yeah. I was raised in a community of faith. My mother always said, you know, you couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting at least 5 ministers, right? And an evangelist commissioner. So it's a part of the DNA that, you know, because we've been given, because we've received, it's important that you give back. And that, you know, if you really believe that God created every person, then you know that they have value. They don't have to agree with you. They don't have to like you. That's why we live in the United States. I don't have to agree with you on everything. You get to have your opinion. Right? You know, I get to have my opinion, right? But that's a good thing. It's a good thing. We should celebrate that, not be upset about it.
So the transition, you know, coming from outside of Washtenaw County into Washtenaw County with this executive role.
Yeah.
Okay, just chat a little bit about that.
Okay. So what is it like to come into Washtenaw County as an outsider? A couple things I've observed. Number one, people here are extremely generous. It's crazy how generous people are here. And that's coming from a place where there was institutional philanthropy, like big money, like a $2 billion foundation that's giving out money. We don't have that here. So it's the generosity of individuals. And that's been incredible to observe. it's an extremely liberal community. You know, that's been really interesting to observe. I didn't realize how conservative the community was I grew up in. I was like, oh my gosh, was I living out on a farm in the middle of nowhere? Okay, so that was interesting to observe. I think another thing I observed was the fact that I think that because it's such a liberal community, people don't talk about stuff and get at the friction of stuff. They say the right thing because it's the right thing to say.
Yeah.
It's like, but let's get at what's underneath.
Got it.
Let's not just be not happy about the veneer. Let's get at what's underneath. Are we really living up to that? Living up to some of those ideals?
Were there any challenges for you with that in that arena coming in?
Oh yeah, I'm from Flint. It's a union town. People say everything. Have you not seen Eric Mays on TV? Like, I mean, I come from this community that's so direct, and you know, it's not for lack of polish. It's because we got to get to the brass tacks. And I love being in the academic community. I have all of my academic bona fides. But what I find is sometimes
Can
our
you stop for a
politeness.
second? Bona fides, Kevin. I mean, you know, we're talking a lot of syllables there. Or
That sounds like 4 words in one.
Right. So I've got my law degree,
Yeah.
I've got my undergraduate degree, and I have a doctor of ministry degree. So, you know, I've got, you know, if you want to talk research, you want to do data, I can do all that with you. But at the end of the day, I'm a girl from Flint who's like, let's just get at it, right? I think I mesh well with a lot of East Coasters that like to talk fast and just get at the hard stuff. And you're not going to hurt my feelings if we cuss all the time. Yeah, like, let's just get to it. Come on, let's get at it. Let's get at what's underneath it.
Well,
So
I hope we don't get too divided. And that's one thing that concerns me when you see the politics is that sometimes you lose the ability to just have conversations, you know,
Right.
and just get to the problem. You don't have to always agree, but find a solution and move on, and we'll get it next time. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
because the community is richer because we have differing opinions.
Yeah.
I think people are scared to say, I've got a neighbor that voted this way, or I got, you know, what would it be like to not have folks that had, I mean, it makes for healthy conversation, healthy discussion. You understand better why you believe what you believe when you're sitting across the table from someone who thinks, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
diversity
right?
of thought.
Right? Diversity of thought. And that's so critical. And to
Really
be able to
is.
have that conversation, to sit down, y'all can have the bourbon. I'm going to have a nice non-alcoholic mojito. But to be able to have that conversation and dialogue, we've lost that ability to be civil, but still have really
Disagreement. Yeah.
open conversation.
That's what my wife said. You're going to buy a business in Ann Arbor? And I said, well, it's really cool because I'd worked here before, you know, for a short term an assignment, but it is so neat. It's so different. And we come from Brighton is where we live now, you know, but and sometimes it's like you're driving to 2 different worlds in 30 minutes, you know, because you're on both opposites. But you need that diversity because if you get too much of that groupthink, it's
not good. And then I think the other thing that I noticed to that point was I refer to it as the donut, right? So Ann Arbor is the center of the donut. That's where you've got a lot of your amenities, your wealth. That's where people are coming to see. My concern, having been here now for 15 months, is that all of those supports don't actually reach out to the donut. They stay in that hole. And it bothered me one day when I went to this event and I looked around. It was focused on kids, but I didn't see any kids from Ypsi. I didn't see kids from Manchester. I didn't see kids from Superior Township. And I was like, this is a $12 event. How come we're not getting the folks from the donut inside? How do we make sure they can take advantage of this? They're 10 minutes away from an R1 institution. Not that they need to go there, but just take advantage of all that means.
mm-hmm.
So, what do you, I mean, peering around the corner, so to see in the future, how do you bridge that gap?
I think you start finding systems actors that can work alongside of you, finding committed people that are like, you know what? I'm not so jaded. We can make this better. We can improve this.
So you've used that word systems quite a bit today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I'm talking about systems, I'm thinking about the transportation system, right? That we saw that really was very challenged during COVID, where you had folks, if they weren't part of that transportation hub, they couldn't get to a doctor. They couldn't get to see family. I think about those seniors that were, you know, the digital system that were divided. They didn't have access. So, you know, in order to get resources during that time, to get groceries, get anything, you had to be online. Well, if you didn't have access to that, you were isolated in your home.
You're out.
And I can't imagine being 85 years old, stuck in my home, not able to see family, friends, talk to anyone, get my prescriptions. So we've got to impact those systems so that they're fair, so that everybody can access them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of that concept, because if you can work on the system and refine the system, then everybody goes along.
Exactly. That's what we're looking
as opposed
for.
to the individual.
I mean, because people will be like, oh, wow, Shannon, but you made it. You did it. I'm like, okay, yeah, but that's because my parents knew how to plug into those systems and get me into some things.
Yeah, right.
When I was talking with that teacher yesterday, I said, it's wonderful that I can advocate for my kid, but I'm always concerned about that kid that doesn't have anybody to advocate for them. And so when I took this job, I told him, I said, I'm taking this job so that the kid who doesn't have an advocate has an advocate sitting in this seat, so that that elderly person who doesn't have an advocate has an advocate in this seat.
Yeah. Wow. Big challenge.
We got the right person leading us here.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So
I won't say you got big shoes to fill. I'm going to say the next person behind you is going to have big shoes to fill. And we learned our lesson, didn't we, Johnny, not to do that.
Yeah. Wow. What's coming around the corner for the organization? What do you got coming up? We got the 60th anniversary.
We got the 60th anniversary, so we're going to be having some celebrations. We'll be sending some things out. I hope you guys will come and have a good time with us, because
And we're hooked. You got us.
Exactly.
Hey, one of the things that's part of our mantra at work is that we work hard, but we play hard too, and fun has to be involved in the activity. So it's going to look a little bit different, and we're gonna have some fun stuff going on. We've got our annual community meeting we always do. We're going to have a donor event that's really focused on all those people that have given to the foundation over the past 60 years. We want to celebrate that. And there's some other things. They're trying to get me through a party for my birthday. I don't know about that. We'll see. I've got some people from my generation.
You're going to be 21. So.
Exactly.
Well, I heard if there's going to be rum cake there, I'm coming.
May make one of my famous rum cakes. So we're doing that, but some things I'm really excited about is our impact investing, where we're putting money into the community, not in the form of grants, but we're making investments. We just made a $1 million investment in this housing development in Ypsilanti. 58 units of brand new housing. They haven't had brand new housing in Ypsilanti in 50 years.
Really?
Yes. So some of those are going to be market rate, but some of those are going to be permanently affordable homes. That's awesome, right? So impact investing, what we're doing, we just made another investment on housing in the city of Ann Arbor. So, we're excited about that. We're excited about what we're doing around aging, what we're doing around the scholarship program.
What do you see around that affordability piece on the housing? Because it's hitting more headlines.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to take a moment and correct the record. We've been getting some press lately that's been saying, oh, Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation isn't giving to housing. Since we pulled out of stopped participating in something called coordinated funding, which absolutely is not true. We're actually giving more in human services and toward housing than we did previously. So we're still looking at how do we help provide affordable housing. And the thing about this community is when we say affordable housing, everybody automatically assumes, oh, you're talking about housing for the very poor. Oh my gosh, I can think of some income levels. You're not poor, but if you're going to buy a house in this community, you're going to need to up that salary. We're looking at how we do that mid-market housing as well.
Right.
How do we help support that? And we're looking at how we partner with organizations and how we listen to the community about the kind of housing needs that are actually there. How do we support those organizations? So housing is such a hard issue in this community. Development is a hard issue in this community. Getting developers that want to come in to do that kind of market rate. So we're looking at how we help. But the other thing is we're also looking at how we support organizations that are helping people stay in their homes so they're not losing their homes. And another thing that we're looking at is once we get people into those homes, how do we help make sure that they stay? How do we help them? Because oftentimes for families, once they've gathered the money for that closing cost, they don't have money if anything else breaks down.
Right. Yep.
Right? So how do we help support that? We've got a program right now where we're actually giving direct cash assistance to organizations that are working with families, that are providing direct cash assistance to them to say, you know what, you don't need anybody else telling you what to do with that money, but you are going to need a little extra at the end. Inflation, I mean, come on, guys, cost of eggs, cost of everything right now, right? It's ridiculous.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter your income. You're feeling that right now. Like, ooh, right? So organizations are feeling that too. Families are feeling that too. So we're trying to work with organizations that are thinking about that and thinking about how they can impact it.
Wow.
Love it.
Yeah.
So people can come to you if they don't know. We got so many great organizations here to give to. That's what's really cool. Meaning you start naming Community Foundation. We've got Ellie's Place. We've got new ones starting every day.
Ellie's Place has a fund with us. You
But
almost
play
can't name
Santa
an organization,
Claus, right? Because you could go around, pass out, and help these other guys. But
So much fun.
if somebody wanted to come, we can come directly to you. The organization. You can help them get stuff planning. Maybe they have an estate they want to leave behind or something like that, as you said. But they can also just get involved by volunteering. You can direct them into something like that if they want to, right?
Exactly. People come to us all the time. Hey, we want to give. We don't know how. Hey, are there organizations that need our support? We love to do that. We love to be supportive in that way. So if you have questions, I have the most amazing staff that anybody could ever hope for. They are incredible. They're experts in their field, and they can say, oh, you want to do something aging? Here's where you should start. Oh, you want to do something around with students? Here's how you can help. We have a youth council. The youth council gives out $90,000 every year. I mean, you got kids that are out there learning how to do this and learning the importance of this. Amazing group of kids, just phenomenal. But yeah, if people come to us, they can go to our website, they can call us, and we will help them, whether it's estate planning, whether they want to volunteer, or just know who's doing this well. We will share with you, hey, here are the organizations that are really being impactful.
Wow.
Well, you're carrying an important mission, and we're smiling here at each other because we love the passion. The energy.
Feel the energy across the table.
Well, I saw Ann Arbor was a 9. It's a 10.
Yeah.
I think it's 11 now because of you. But
Washtenaw County.
Washtenaw County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Washtenaw County. The area.
The other thing is, as a new person, if anybody wants to give me a tour of your part of the community, I am open to that because I want to learn. I believe in boots on the ground. So when someone says, Shannon, I want you to learn more about Manchester, invite me out. I want to look at your perspective of your community because you know about your community. You're the expert in it.
Would that qualify as breaking news? She's coming out to your neighborhood? Can we get that on here? They heard it first. They're going to come?
Yeah.
But no, that's great. That's important that you take that view too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
So normally we close with, what's somebody's favorite bourbon? We ask that because we're kind of bourbon lovers. But I'm hearing the passion out of her, the energy, and from our conversation before this, Les. I think we got to go Sparty basketball. I think we got to change it up. So it was either golf or maybe ask her who the favorite.
Who's your favorite Spartan? And remember, you're answering this in Ann Arbor.
So my favorite Spartan of all time is Magic Johnson.
Really?
Magic.
Yeah.
Oh, classic.
Yeah.
Magic because he's from Lansing.
Yep.
Hometown boy, did good. I love the way that he took down Larry Bird. And one of the things that I appreciate so much about him is the way he's now translated his success and put it back into communities, right?
Yeah.
Bringing Starbucks to neighborhoods that wouldn't have him, movie theaters to neighborhoods that wouldn't have him. He's not just said, oh, this is all about me. He's like, hey, how do I go back and make it better for somebody else?
Have you ever met him?
No.
We got to figure out a way for you to meet him.
He would love you.
Yeah, absolutely, 150%.
He's awesome.
So
now, being from Flint, I also have to say, I love Mateen Cleaves.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
can't leave out the Flintstones.
Right.
But we talk about Magic. So the Final Four, you're watching the Final Four, and I loved it because Barkley finally called him out, and he's like, you got to quit pumping those weights. But did he not look like, how big he was?
That's because Charles been eating rum cake somewhere, right?
Well, Charles had a different problem, but Magic look, just the
my
biceps.
gosh.
He's like, yeah, get bigger shirts,
And we're not going to touch the WNBA finals our way because we're going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that. I don't know. How do you guys feel? How do you guys feel?
The WNBA?
You can't see me. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about it?
Yes, I loved it. I thought it was great.
I don't understand why people think that women don't trash talk. If I was playing cards with you guys, it'd be on. Yeah. I'm like, come on, that's half of the game.
So some of the conversation that I heard was that people enjoyed that more because they thought the basketball skill, it wasn't run fast and shoot. There was a lot of skill exhibited.
So one of the girls I went to elementary school with all the way through, she's head coach for Rutgers women's basketball team. So, having observed her career over the years, it has gotten significantly more physical. And it reminds me of how basketball used to be when I was a little kid. Of course, that's why I never played because I was like, oh, you guys are doing too much. I don't want to get my nails dirty.
So I don't know if it was good or bad that the media jumped onto that because it had it talking about it, but it was such a great product that we didn't need to go there and drag it down with with this stuff, because Clark had done that in a couple of games before that, and Clark loved it. I mean, she said it's all fun, but
she's amazing.
Yeah.
She's an incredible player. I think the thing is, let the game speak for itself. I am a very strong proponent of women's sports. I love it where you're talking about tennis, or you're talking about basketball, you're talking about swimming. I mean, there's some amazing women athletes that are just doing incredible things, the soccer players. So I say, let us be us. Go ahead, do some trash talk. Get out there, be super competitive. It's one of the things I tell my daughter all the time. 'Cause she's like, Mommy, are you going to let me win? Absolutely not. You win when you earn it.
Right. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people afraid of competition right now. They just back down from it.
Oh, no. My dad was in sales. And so I grew up listening to Zig Ziglar tapes and stuff like that. I'm just like, come on, bring it.
Johnny, we got to schedule her again, man. We got to get her back in here. Whatever this time was not enough. We need. She needs to have her own show. I mean, we should just be off of it.
Yeah,
right, Les?
exactly. Right.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. This was fun.
Well, thank you. We're going to do it again.
Okay.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. This has been fantastic for me personally.
Oh, this is awesome.
Thank you for coming
I
in.
love
But more
the energy.
importantly,
I can feel it.
thank
All
you
right.
for what you're doing and leading the group over there, because it's great stuff and it's important stuff, and you're doing well.
Thank you. We wouldn't do it without people like you. So thank you, guys. Yeah.